Hello everyone and welcome to another game I played on PTCGO. For this match I'm going to be using a Team Plasma deck, so with Kyurem and not a Lugia line, but I also teched in a Genesect just for that catcher or Lysander effect, if you will. I'm going to be leading off with Thundurus in the active and Thundurus on the bench, and my opponent reveals a Latias. So actually this card is being teched into Team Plasma decks to deal with Pyroar and company. So it's probably a mirror match. Let's see what my opponent plays though. He might not play Kyurem. I'm going to hear Team Plasma Ball attaching to the active as well. And I will Team Plasma Ball again, getting myself a Deoxys and a Kyurem with those Team Plasma Balls. I will also use a Chorus Machine to attach onto Kyurem, and then N. Hopefully I can have a way to discard a water energy or something that counts as it, and unfortunately I don't. But I do get a muscle band, so I can attach that to the active and ramp up the damage. So I'm hitting for 60 on the first turn, which is pretty good. But I could have done more with a laser interviewer bank as well. So my opponent puts down a Lugia and a Deoxys, so definitely a Team Plasma deck. He's going to attach a DCE and then a Lysander. So this is going to bring up Deoxys, try to stall me for a bit. Fortunately, I can get out of this. I don't even need a switching card. I'm going to use a Chorus Machine to attach to Deoxys, and then attach a Lightning Energy, and then just manually retreat. I'm not at all concerned with having those Lightning Energy in the discard pile, since I can actually attach it to my bench Thundurus, which is actually a decent attacker here in this match with Lugia. So I'm going to retreat and just go back into Thundurus, and I can Raiden Knuckle here. I'm debating whether or not to use that dowsing machine, but I'm going to decide against it since it's not really going to gain me much by using. So I'm going to get that energy, the lightning energy, and attach it to my bench Thundurus. And going into my opponent's turn, he needs to retreat or else he's going to lose Lugia. So he's going to try Catchering now. So as if Lysander wasn't enough, he also plays Catcher. But fortunately, the coin flip ends up being a Tails, and in my favor. I'm getting an N, and I figure I should play it here. Or maybe save it for next turn. That's actually what I'm going to decide to do. Now Raiden Knuckle, bringing that plasma energy onto the bench Thundurus. So maybe I can use Thunderous Noise, its second attack, to one-shot a Lugia, thanks to Deoxys. So my opponent is going to send up Deoxys. He's going to end me, and I had a fairly decent hand there. But I do get a Juniper off of his N. He's going to use a Team Plasma Ball, bringing out a Deoxys, and then play a Starly Megaphone, getting rid of my Muscle Band. Then we see a Roller Skates. This is sort of a speed Lugia build, if you will. He gets a Tails on that, fortunately for me. Then he attaches a Prism Energy onto his Thundurus on the bench. And here I have a decision. It looks like I'm going to play this Dowsing Machine, getting rid of one of those Junipers and the Kyurem in order to get a Team Plasma Ball, I believe, just to get another Deoxys on the bench and ramp up the damage I'm doing. Yep, that's the play I'm making here. Another bad thing is I don't actually have anything that counts as water in the discard pile. Hopefully I can get some of that. I do get a blend energy, and a water energy, but they're not in discard, so I can manually attach one and just Raiden Knuckle here. I can also play a Hypnotoxic Laser, but first I'm going to bench this Genesect, and I decided not to play that laser. I'm just going to hit for 50 damage, and Raiden Knuckle can't get anything else out of the discard pile. I might have been better off retreating manually into the second Deoxys and then using Raiden Knuckle to bring that energy on to Kyurem, but oh well. My opponent is going to Chorus Machine onto his Lugia and then play an N, ending me down to 4. He gets a second Deoxys on his bench, so he's going to be dealing a bit more damage, and now comes Escape Rope. So here he's probably going to go into Lugia, and the only card it makes sense to go into is my Kyurem. but fortunately he actually goes into Thundurus. Then he's going to play a Pokemon Catcher, and fortunately it's a Tails. So this is a catcher heavy build, and with Lysander in it as well. He's just going to Raiden Knuckle, and he did attach a DCE before the turn ended onto Lugia, and he's going to bring a Prism Energy onto Deoxys. So here I am actually going to use a Chorus Machine, bringing a Plasma Energy onto the bench Thundurus. It just needs one more energy to be able to use Thunderous Noise, but it needs to be a Lightning or a substitute for it. I'm going to use a Hypnotoxic Laser. Thundurus is now asleep, and I'm going to pull off a Frost Sphere for 50 and hit the benched Lugia for 30. Makes it easier to get a knockout on my end, maybe even using Raiden Knuckle potentially. My opponent wakes up into his turn, but fortunately I still have the prize lead. But here it would probably make sense to manually retreat into Lugia or switch into it, which he does. He hits the switch. He's going to Juniper his hand away, which is just an Ultra Ball. And what is he going to get off of this? So he has the knockout, but he will lose Lugia essentially, because I can just Raiden Knuckle or Thunderous Noise. Thunderous Noise will knock it out. Raiden Knuckle will not in my current setup. He's going to play a Roller Skates. He gets ahead, so he draws 3 more cards. Play a second Roller Skates, and that is also a heads, unfortunately for me. And get 3 more cards, so he has quite a massive hand on his side of the field. And what is the play he's going for? So he's actually going to retreat into Deoxys, saving his Lugia, and here he can Power Connect, or I forget Lugia's attack actually, and he looked like he was going to put down a Thundurus, but he brings it back into his hand. Then we see an Ultra Ball, so he wants something else on that bench. Probably another Deoxys just to add more damage. And going through his discard. Yeah, it's another Deoxys. So now he has 4, but he didn't play that last one. He didn't need to. So he's going to send my Kyurem to the discard, and I'm going to promote my Thundurus with only 1 energy on it. I don't see a point of sending the other one up, since it doesn't have enough energy to use Thunderous Noise quite yet. I'm going to Team Plasma Ball for a 3rd Deoxys, bringing that onto the bench. I can attach a Plasma Energy onto Genesect to use Red Signal to bring up Lugia. So here I can actually sort of taunt my opponent. I don't do enough damage to knock him out. I leave him just short of the knockout actually, with I think 10 HP left, with that Raiden Knuckle doing 120 and him already having 30 done. 20 short of the knockout actually. And I will be able to knock him out if he decides to take the knockout with Lugia. And Lugia seems to be his preferred attacker here. So I'm just going to Raiden Knuckle here onto Deoxys, bringing a water energy onto it. Sort of a tough call. None of the energies were super useful in my discard. So he's going to bench another Deoxys going into his turn. And I just hope he takes the knockout on my active Thundurus, so I can just return with the benched one. He's going to attach another Prism Energy onto his benched Thundurus, but we see the Lysander, so that's not good. He's actually able to get the knockout on my bench Thundurus with 3 energy on it, so there goes those energy, and not exactly what I wanted to see happen, but I can get the return knockout here and just tie up the prize game. And fortunately my top deck is also a Chorus, so I can go for 9 cards here. And I get a Prism Energy, which I will attach to Genesect, since I could potentially attack with it. And I will Pal Pad, bringing a Chorus and a Juniper back into my deck, since I do have 2 Junipers in hand, and I may need to Juniper next turn. I will bench another Thundurus, since it seems to be an okay attacker in this match. We'll Raiden Knuckle for 120 and bring a Lightning Energy back and attach it to the Thundurus I just benched. since I'll probably want to Raiden Knuckle some more, since I just lost most of my plasma energies. So then Lugia goes down, and now we're tied at 2 and 2. My opponent decides to go for Thunderous into the active. This has already been damaged, so it looks like it has 60 damage thus far. He's going to attach a Muscle Band onto Deoxys and one onto Thunderous, along with a DCE, so we can actually pull off a Thunderous noise here. He benches another Thunderous, and he is going to play a Chorus Machine. Does he have any plasma energy? That's a big question, and it looks like he doesn't, so maybe he's just trying to thin out his deck. And then we see a Juniper, discarding a Bicycle, a Shauna, another Bicycle, and a Juniper. So we see a Catcher, and this time it is a Heads, unfortunately. So he's going to bring up Deoxys. He won't be able to knock it out with Thunderous, but he sends up Deoxys, so he's going to be able to do just shy of the knockout, leaving it with 160. Fortunately, I do have 2 switches in hand, but if he uses a Lysander or a Catcher on his next turn, I'm over. So I'm going to Ultra Ball here, just seeing what I have left in my deck. I'm especially interested in those Prism energies, in case I want to attack with Genesect here. So I still have 2. I'm going to use a Laser here, hoping that I can survive this next turn. I will be able to retreat, and now I think the move here is to attack with Thunderous. I can attach this Blend Energy onto Deoxys, and then just retreat manually, since those energy cards can be Raiden Knuckled back onto the benched Thunderous. So hit for 60, bringing back one of those Blend Energies and putting it on Thunderous. So now going into my opponent's turn, he stays asleep, it looks like. No, actually he wakes up, but he says GG, so this lets me know he has something in hand that can knock me out, and it looks like it's going to be a Dowsing Machine. Here he can bring back Lysander and just bring up anything and win the game that way. So that's exactly what we see. He's going to bring up Deoxys, knocking it out for the win. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this mirror match.